Good evening and welcome to Ask the Attorney. I'm your host, Amy Rao Mohan, and this is the chance for you to ask attorneys any type of questions that you have, any legal questions, whether it's civil or criminal, family law. We're here to answer those questions. And joining me today is Kevin Kennedy.
Hi, Amy. Good to be with you tonight.
It's good to be with you too. A new year for us.
Brand new 2015, and so we're going to answer some questions tonight, maybe give some good advice to help a lot of the viewing audience.
I hope so. And Kevin Kennedy's with the Kennedy Law Firm in Clarksville, and you have a general practice, kind of all areas, right?
Yeah, you know, we say this quite often on the broadcast because, you know, the law is so complicated. Our lives are so complicated. You have to know a little bit about the law. And, you know, it goes back to these old sayings, you know, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Well, the truth of the matter is the government holds you to this high standard, and it really is an excuse. And so tonight, that's why it's so good that you can tune in and listen, take some notes, and then try to take what you've learned from the show and teach your children and your grandchildren and your neighbors and coworkers, because you never know when someone's confronted with that particular instance.
And there really is no silly question, because
it isn't.
You know, we get so many here, and you know, people always start off with, I'm embarrassed to ask this, or this is a silly question, but it helps so many people just getting those questions out there.
And you know, even like I've been in the law business now 31 years, lots of lawyers, but I still like to discuss it with even a lawyer that doesn't have my experience, because even as we discuss it, your mind is being developed at various options. And many times we look at a situation and we'll talk about it, and we don't have the answer in day one. We don't have the answer in day two, but we keep discussing it. We will come up with an answer. And the power is when you and I can agree, there is power in that decision.
That's right. And please call that number at the bottom of your screen. That's 737+737-7587. And of course, News Channel 5 has been doing gavel-to-gavel coverage of the Vanderbilt rape trial, and we can certainly answer maybe some general questions, but neither you or I are involved in that
We're not
case,
involved in it, but we can always talk about the theories, and we can talk about the procedures and various things like that. Yeah,
but any type of legal question that you have, civil or criminal. So let's see if we've got some callers ready here. It looks like the lines are already flashing.
Okay.
We've got number one here. Hi, how can we help you?
It took my name.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I couldn't get your name.
Les.
Les?
Go ahead, Les. Ask the question. What you got tonight?
I just want to know if you paid an attorney a retained fee to represent you, and he hasn't done anything in your case for the last 2 years. What outlet do I have?
Okay, well, you know, every contract with a lawyer is individual, and so you have to go back to what you and his understanding was from the beginning. Sometimes lawyers take fees on a flat fee basis, and they say, okay, I'm going to represent you for X amount of dollars, and I'm going to represent you through the General Sessions Court. Well, that's a pretty good understanding. And so then a lot of times people may say, well, I'm going to pay you $1,000 retainer down, and they bill it so much an hour. Well, you know what? They burn that money up, and so then they're ready to rebill you again. And so if I hired a lawyer and I felt like that they weren't doing it, I'd go in and talk to them and say, look, this is not working out. Can we just regroup and I'll go get a new lawyer? So I just go back to the lawyer and hear what was the original contract and see where we stand.
And look at that engagement letter that you might have. And,
yes.
And you may have remedies with the Board of Professional Responsibility or legal malpractice.
I like to say a good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. And again, when you go to hire a lawyer, you say, okay, well, you kind of explain to me what is the deal that we're doing. And most lawyers, they can't really afford to take on a case, because if it gets bigger and bigger and more time, that's what you're really paying the lawyer for. Their time, their talent, their resources, their research, and that's hard to get a grip around for the most experienced lawyer.
That's right. All right, well, it's good advice for Les, and we've got Doug here who's been waiting. Hi, Doug.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm doing fairly well. I have a question. My son fathered a little girl last year, and he's been denied privileges to see the little girl. We don't know where we know she lives in Clarksville, but we don't have any address or any other information. So I'm just trying to filter through what's the proper procedure to find this woman and give him some parental rights.
Okay.
And you've had a lot of experience.
Yes, we do. And, you know, when, like at our law firm, we probably have access to more resources than some lawyers do. We try to get the finest people search that's available, and so, which we do have that. So we, through our resources, could put it in, and the odds are great that we would find out where she's at, where she's working, and then if we were retained, we would file a petition and have her served, and we would have some answers within 30 days. If she didn't respond in 30 days, we would move for the court to default. We'd ask the judge, give us the child, let her pay us child support, and so you certainly are confronted with a problem that lots of people are confronted with, but we always recommend take a proactive approach. And you might ask the lawyer, if you were to talk to him, do you have the resources available? Because it's very expensive. Again, when you come to get a lawyer or a law firm, there's really no way we could have all that if I didn't have lots of people working there. And so it's a great resource, and not many people know it. Excellent question.
Yeah. All right, we've got Gregory here on line 3. Hey, Gregory.
Hello, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
All right. I just wanted to ask a question to the lawyer, the attorney.
Yes.
And it was a little off. I guess a little off of this. It was the Vanderbilt rape case.
Okay.
And it was stated that Vandenberg made a statement about the woman in question that was violated, that she won't wake up when she was in the dorm room. Like one of the other defendants was saying, was doing something, and Vandenberg made the statement that she wouldn't wake up. And they were talking about a date rape or whatever, this and that. I wonder why that wasn't explored.
And from my limited understanding of this case and just watching snippets here and there, I believe that she didn't go and see a nurse practitioner or a physician for 72 hours. So even if they did do toxicology, I believe, but I think that either the date rape drug didn't show up or couldn't have or could not have showed up. And Andrew, our producer, is telling me in my ear that it did not show up.
Okay, and another good question. In Tennessee, we have kind of what's known as the fresh complaint, too. So, meaning that, you know, let's just take hypothetically that if a woman said, well, you know, I was raped 6 months ago, well, that doesn't carry the weight that one woman says I was raped 6 minutes ago. So those things go in. Each and every case is different. I'll also give you a little scenario for the viewing audience to ponder. A lot of times you could say, well, I'd love to ask this question. Why didn't the lawyers ask this? Well, what you don't know is we didn't see all the pre-trial motions. And the lawyers have probably thought of every question that you're thinking of, and they may have filed a motion in limine prior to the jury, outside of the cameras, and said, we don't want anyone to ask anything about this particular area because of a law. And we maintain it's highly prejudicial, and so the judge would have to rule on that particular subject. And if he said you can't ask it, then they can't ask it. So there's a lot of legal maneuvering that goes on between the motions and behind the scenes, and that's where a very competent and effective lawyer can really make the difference for anybody.
And I believe in this case there were several motions in limine, and so that
and
they
motions
are
in
limited.
discovery. And let me address this too. For instance, even if there was a severe confession and we didn't follow the rules, the lawyers could file a motion to suppress the confession. It never comes in. And you say, well, that's not fair. That's the law. And we also have these little motions in discovery. If we say, give me all your witnesses, Amy, and Amy said, well, I didn't give this one, then we would move and say all that evidence needs to be excluded because she didn't turn it over pursuant to the local rules. So we don't really know the whole story. We're seeing parts of it on TV.
Right. Well, a lot of interesting questions, and we've got the phone lines lit up, but please keep calling that number, 737+, and we'll get back to your questions right after this.